Welcome back. You're still watching Business Morning, the Wednesday edition of the program on Channels Television, and we're broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. Well, today on the program, we're going to be focusing on the 2014 budget and some of the issues that have actually come up. We know that the appropriation bill has scaled second reading at the Senate, but that was not what happened yesterday when the House of Representatives actually began their debate on the budget. There were opposing views, and so the House, the Speaker, Aminu Tambuwal, actually constituted a six-man advisory committee to look into these issues that were raised by the two representatives and actually come up with something that they can work with. But we also know that there won't be any sitting today and tomorrow because APC members in the House and, of course, the Senate will be going to their various constituencies to register for the party, and they should be back and resume sitting by Tuesday. But we're going to be looking at these issues, about the budget, that is, and I'll be joined on the program live from our Abuja studios by a fiscal strategy analyst and a lawyer, Eze Onyekbere. And I'm also hoping to be joined later on the program by an economic analyst and the chief executive officer of Kari Assets Management. Mr. Onyekbere, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
Well, it's not that having budget issues is peculiar to Nigeria, but it seems that these days it's being politicized. What's your take on this? How will this affect how the budget will be deliberated on?
Well, I expect the National Assembly to play its part in the appropriation process in a way as manner as stated in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999. Well, to what happened in the House of Representatives, the attempt to filibuster the budget, I don't think it makes any sense at all, because political parties can disagree on several issues, but when it comes to the welfare of the Nigerian people, it will be clearly an attempt for someone to be able to be earning his salaries, drawing down the perks of office while refusing to perform his constitutional duties. So I don't think it stands to reason for any political party at all to try to hold Nigerians to ransom. They are not holding the executive arm to ransom. That will be holding the whole of Nigeria to ransom after receiving their due emoluments. That will be fundamentally flawed and wrong.
Well, we know that the budget is supposed to be like a planning tool, not just for the nation, but for individuals as well as business organizations. But over the years, we've consistently seen this, back and forth, dragging on what's supposed to be in the budget, how this budget is supposed to be, the benchmark for the oil prices, for instance, and exchange rate and the rest of it. But when can we ever get it right?
I didn't quite hear you very well.
We know that this budget is supposed to be like a
well.
planning tool, not just for the nation, but of course for individuals and organizations, who have business here in the country. But we've noticed that this trend consistently happens. Each time they're supposed to they present the budget, we always have issues. If it's not from the from what economists feel there's a disparity in the figures, we always have issues from the National Assembly, and so there's this always back and forth. So when are we ever going to get it right?
Well, if there have been proper consultation between the executive and the legislature, and also if the whole scenario hasn't been over-politicized, we will have been in a situation whereby now we'll be talking of even an approved budget that should be ready for implementation. So going forward, I think this is a lesson, but we refuse to learn in this country, whether at the level of the executive or at the level of the legislature. We refuse to learn. We keep on repeating the same mistakes year after year. There should be proper consultation and everybody should be carried on board so that this thing will be approved early enough, and then we go to the field to implement. Well, for Nigerians, I think the ball still falls back a little bit on our court, the general public, that we should be able to insist that this is not the proper way to do things, and this is not the way stipulated in the Fiscal Responsibility Act and other laws in the laws of the Federation, that people should do their duties and do it at the appropriate time so that we don't disrupt the chain and the system. We are talking of early February, and we are still having this ding-dong whether we will consider the budget or not. So at what time will we start implementation? So that's the challenge we have. But I think it's a challenge of politics. Politics has taken over everywhere. Governance has taken a backseat.
Oh, Mr. Onyekwe, just quickly hold on to your thoughts. We'll get back to you. I'm being joined now on the program by economic analyst and the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Kari Assets Limited. Good morning, Mr. Johnson Chukwuemeka.
Good morning.
Thank you for making it. I can imagine what the roads are like. Now, I've been having this discussion on the 2014 budget with Mr. Eze Onyekwe, and among the things that I've been able to glean from that is that there wasn't proper consultation on most of the aspects of the budget, which is the reason why we seem to have this ding-dong, as it were, as regards what should the benchmark or the presumptions or assumptions should be for the budget. But let's just quickly get your take on this.
Well, if you look at the issue of consultation, you have to look at the fact that each arm of the government has a primary responsibility. It is the responsibility of the government, the executive, to come up to execute the policies of government, to come up with policies and execute those policies. The budget is an instrument of policy execution. It is the primary responsibility of the executive to come up with the budget, and then it is the duty of the National Assembly to legislate that budget into law. So if you want to talk of consultation, I think the consultation that take place in preparing the budget would have taken place, going to the different ministries, agencies, and what have you. But the key thing we're looking at is this: the issue of the benchmark oil price. That's what you're talking about. If you look at the consultations, in the first place, the budget is supposed to be preceded by the medium-term expenditure framework, which was sent in by the government. The government came up with a $74 per barrel benchmark. The National Assembly insisted on the House of Representatives insisted on $79 per barrel. Eventually, they were able to reach a compromise of $77.5, and the budget was eventually submitted at $77.5 per barrel. So I don't think the issues now should be the issue of benchmark, because the government has already conceded. The executive conceded to the request of the National Assembly that the budget should be submitted, and based on the medium-term expenditure framework should come at $77.5 per barrel. But the key thing is this: when we shut down the government, when we shut down the federal government, we are shutting down the entire part of the entire economy. If you look at the consumption expenditure in the country, is accounted, 40% of the consumption expenditure is accounted by the federal government, by the government. So if you look at our GDP, it simply means that 40% of the GDP is driven by governmental activities. And then if you take if you want to derive what the federal government accounts for in that governmental consumption or governmental expenditure, no matter whether you're computing the GDP by way of consumption or expenditure, you realize that, look, if you use the sharing of the federation account, where the federal government accounts for about 56% of the share, it then means that the federal government consumption accounts for 22% of our GDP. Then if you shut down the federal government, you are shutting down a consumption expenditure of 22%, and that will have drastic impact on, because the government acts as a catalyst for economic activity in the country. So it will also affect the consumption expenditure of the private sector. So you may end up, if you look at the overall impact of shutting down the federal government, shutting about 40 to 50% of the economic activities in the country. And I don't think that's what anybody in United should be thinking of doing. Because
that's what's happening. It seems like it's happening right now. The disadvantages far outweigh whatever advantage, because the lawmakers do mean well for their constituents. But then they have to also realize that with this ongoing impasse, so to speak, on when or what should be in the budget and when it should be passed and the rest of it, we see a lot of projects begin to suffer. We know that this is a pre-election year. And so with all of this going on, before you know it, there's going to be campaigns. And so attention might not be given so much to how projects should be executed, and so at the end of the day, the people are still holding the short end of the stick.
Those are where my challenges are. One, the House of Representatives. It's not actually, when we talk about National Assembly, you have to actually differentiate between the Senate and the House of Representatives. The challenge we have today is with the House of Representatives, and if they feel they are going to frustrate the federal executive from executing the budget, they will actually be frustrating Nigeria. Take, for instance, one of the arterial roads in this country, the Lagos-Ibadan Express Road. There's a 25 billion provision in that budget. That 25 billion is to kickstart the actual construction of that road. If you shut down the government for the first 4 months of this year, you'll be releasing the budget at the point we are going to the rainy season. You also look at the period we have construction in this country. The construction actually takes place in less than 6 months of the 12 months in a year, because we have long periods of rainy season. So if you shut down the government from January to something like April, you find out that your government execution of the capital expenditure will be highly stymied, will be highly constrained, because the season where there is no disturbance of the rain will actually be very few months. So we have to look at what's the overriding interest of this country. I don't think the overriding interest of this country is to allow political interest to overwhelm the entire economic and social infrastructure, however little it is that the government wants to implement.
Well, Mr. Johnson, let's take a quick look at some of the issues that was raised by the lawmakers, beginning with the Senate. We know that it has actually passed second reading at the Senate. Yes, so even though we seem to be having differing views from the House, the Senate is still moving ahead with the consideration of this appropriation bill. Now, some of them argue that the funds allocated to agriculture, judiciary, and security are not enough. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, if you look at the fund allocated to agriculture, one of the things that the federal government has done is that they have changed the value chain in the agricultural sector. And among the things they've done, the leakages that made agriculture to get so much allocations are being blocked. So you may not have the need for that level of resources going into agricultural sector. For instance, the issue of fertilizer distribution, where previously fertilizer was distributed through channels that allowed middlemen to intercept this fertilizer, and they weren't getting to the farmers. Now you have a fertilizer distribution method that allows the farmers to access the fertilizer directly. Then you have issues of improved seedling. Then what the government is also doing is to convert agriculture into real business. So they may not really need to subsidize a lot of things that were being subsidized in the past. So that might necessarily mean that you don't have to invest so much resources in agriculture. If you talk of defense, if you look at the entire expenditure going into defense, you actually find out that defense is accounting for almost 60% of the expenditure. So I don't know what they're looking at. Is it just what's going to the armed forces? What goes to the National Security Council, National Security Advisor? What goes to the police? All this is sum up into amounts going to fight the instability we have in the Northeast. So I don't think the amount going to the Senate, to security vote, the security vote is anything that anybody can say is too low, given that different arms of the security agencies get allocations from the budget.